What's going on, people? Welcome back to the United Stand. My name is Maud and I am here to present your road trip for Manchester United versus Newcastle on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. How are you all feeling? Are you tired after Christmas? I know a lot of people are probably a little bit, I don't know, maybe hungover. You might be a bit, I don't know, you might be just excited that the New Year's coming. I'm about to enter in 2026. But Manchester United are playing a couple more games. We've got Newcastle and we've got one more game against Wolves on the 30th. But today, the road trip is for Manchester United versus Newcastle. A bit of I'm gonna call it it's hard to call it a rivalry because to me our only rivals are, I guess, Liverpool, City, and you can argue Arsenal as well. Newcastle, I feel like they want the rivalry more than we do, let's be honest. Newcastle want us to be rivals. They beat us one time. I mean, they beat us last season and that's it. And all of a sudden it's, oh, we're rivals now. But we took a Carabao Cup off them. You know what I mean? We had to make them wait a couple of years to get it back. So I think it's still a very interesting game. I mean, I'm going to read out the last 5 results, and I think this kind of does favour Newcastle. So our last result in the Premier League was a 4-1 to Newcastle. Then before that, it was a 2-0 to Newcastle. The game before that was a 3-2 for Manchester United. Then it was a 1-0 to Newcastle, and the game before that was a 3-0 win to Newcastle in the EFL. And if you want to look at the last Premier League game before that, it was a 2-0 win to Newcastle. So they have been beating us in our last 5 or 6 results quite a bit. But I do feel like there's a different... it's a different space when it comes to Premier League football. The reason why I say that is if you look at Manchester United and Newcastle in the table, Manchester United currently are 7th in the table and Newcastle are 11th. Now, they are only 3 points behind us, but in the table, we are above them. And yes, it is a pretty close Premier League, let's be honest, so far this season. Every team can move up and down very quickly, but both teams have had their good times and both teams have had their struggles in the league. So I think it's a bit more even than what it's looked like in the past 5 or 6 results. However, what I really want to talk about is Manchester United's team, because this is the biggest conversation that we're going to have over the next, I'd say, 6 weeks, because we don't really know who's going to be playing where and what's going to happen. So look, the injuries that have come out so far, and by the way, I am recording this before the presser, so if there is any differences, Amorim might come out and say this person's available, etc. This is recorded before the presser. But the injuries that we have so far are Bruno Fernandes. He's looking to be out until probably February. It's going to be quite a while, which is a huge, huge blow. We're going to touch on that. Then obviously Maguire and De Ligt, who have been out for quite a while now. 2 very important players, as we've seen so far, to our defence. Now, it's a good thing, though, because Casemiro is back after his suspension for having 5 yellow cards. He can jump back into the team. But we are also missing our AFCON players, Mazraoui, Mbeumo and Amad Diallo. They're going to be away till at least, I'd say, the start of January, probably. I mean, hopefully for them, they go and do well because it will give them a little bit of confidence. But that could be up until the mid-January, possibly at the 18th or probably closer to February if they have a little bit of time off after they come back. So there are quite a few important players that are not going to be available for this team. So I'm going to go through right now. I'm going to go through the team and I'm going to tell you who I think is going to play. Now, in terms of formation, let me sort that out first of all, because we know the formation is such a big conversation around our club. Is it going to be 3-4-3? Is it going to be a 4-3-3? I think it's going to be a 4-1-4-1. That's what I think it's going to be. Because I think what we saw last game, we saw the team set up more with a 4 at the back. And the players who I think are going to play there, obviously Sele Lamens will start in goal. But the players who I think are going to start in our defence will be Dalot at right back. I think Dalot, to be fair, recently has done pretty well, I'll be honest. And I know people are saying, like, yeah, he still makes mistakes here and there. And I do think that for one of those goals, the last game against Aston Villa, Dalot definitely could have done better. I think he let Tielemans turn him a little bit too quickly and get a cross in. He should have been pressing up to him. But I think in general, compared to what he was at the start of the season, I have to say Dalot has improved quite a bit, to be fair, compared to what he was playing earlier this season as a left wing back. I think now that he's back in a bit more favourable position, he has done a bit better. So I think Dalot at right back and at left back, for me, look, this is what I would do. For left back, I would put Luke Shaw. I put Luke Shaw at left back, and as the 2 centre backs, it's going to have to be Lisandro Martinez And I'm tempted to put Aiden Heaven, you know. And I know, yes, it's two left-footed players, and I get it. You'd rather put Yoro there, but I feel like Yoro recently hasn't had the best run of games. And if we're looking at what Aiden Heaven's done, I think he has had a better run of games of recent. That doesn't mean that Yoro is a terrible player. I know people love to live in extremes online, and you know, Yoro's having a bad run of games. Let's sell him. Let's get rid of him. It should never be that. I think Yoro is still an amazing player. But I think when you've got a team full of players who can rotate, and we've got players available, especially with Martinez coming back. And I think with Aiden Heaven even having these great opportunities to play quality minutes of football, I think we've got to kind of reward Aiden Heaven to say, look, you've played well. You deserve to continue playing over a player who has had a couple struggles and difficulties the last run of games. So I'm going to have to go with Aiden Heaven and Lisandro Martinez. I understand the two left-footed business, but we play with two right-footers all the time. We've done that so many times anyway. And I think with Lisandro Martinez, I think the cameo that he had in the one position in front of them, which I'm going to touch on, I think that was amazing. Now, I'll hold my hands up all the time and say, like, I did not think it would work. I'm always a bit skeptical with players changing positions drastically. I think there's certain positions that can be, they have a little bit more relatability in terms of the attributes that you need to have to play well in there. For example, if you're a fullback and a winger, you can kind of chop and change there. I think attacking midfielders can jump into the attack, whether it's as a false 9 or as a 10. I think there's, or not necessarily a 10, but let's say a winger. You know, we've seen that Mason Mount go forward and be a winger sometimes. Bruno Fernandes playing that position. Even back in the day with Pogba, he did it quite a few times on the left. But I feel like when it comes to centre-backs and midfielders, it's rare that you see players be able to actually go into midfield and have a great game. And Martinez actually showed that he can do it and he is comfortable there. So what I would do is I'd play Martinez and Aiden Heaven. In front of them, I play Casemiro. And when it's time for, let's be honest, when it's time for Casemiro to come off at around 60 minutes, which he does every single game, I'd put Martinez into that position. I'd put Martinez into that position and I'd bring Lenny Yoro onto the pitch and put him into defence. Now, that is, you know, we don't know what's going to happen with Kobe Mainoo. Like I said, Amorim might come out in his presser and say Kobe Mainoo is available. I don't know right now. I don't know. If Kobe Mainoo is available, then I think he could also play in that position. And I think it would be great for him to start as well, considering he hasn't started a game in the Premier League yet. We're 17 games in, 16, 17 games in. He hasn't started a game yet, and I think it'll be great for him to get the opportunity, especially now that Bruno's out and etc. It'd be great for him to get the opportunity to start a game. But I'm just going to knowledge that I have that is Kobe Mainoo has had a little bit of an injury. So that's my defence. That's my first midfielder. Then the four in front of them players, I would play Dorgu. I would play... Wait, who else? Oh, Mason Mount. My mind was completely blank. I play Mason Mount. Like I said before, if Mainoo is available, he can play in there, but I am a bit skeptical because I don't know who's going to be available. Bruno is obviously not going to be available in that other midfield position. So I put like I said, Mason Mount there. Then I'm kind of going to have to look for Cunha. I'm going to put Cunha in there next to him. Then I'm going to put on the right. I'm trying to think, who do we even have available now? There's so many players that are out. I'm looking at our team earlier before, and I'm thinking, who can I put as that right-sided player? But it's looking like it's going to have to be... In fact, let me know in the comments, who would you put on that right-hand side? Because I think Cunha definitely a player who's going to have to play. Up top, I'm going to have to put Sesko. He's going to be one of our starting players. And I guess potentially we're going to have to put Xerxes in that team as well. Now, Xerxes not going to play on the right-hand side. Maybe we could shuffle the players around in there, but I think in terms of the availability of most of our players, we are really struggling in quite a few positions. So let me know in the comments, actually, who are you going to put in there? Because for me, I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit confused as to who is going to have to start. But I guess that's something that Amorim's going to have to decide. And maybe he's going to change the formation up a little bit so we can have more players in and around the team. Now, moving on. I do really want to touch on a couple of players that I feel like are going to be really vital in this game against Newcastle. Now, as we know, Newcastle are going to be a difficult opponent. They have a really, really strong midfield. They have a really good striker in Voltemade. And let's be honest, who knew he was going to be this good? I know he had a big price tag, but there wasn't really much conversation around him in the summertime as to big clubs looking for him. Let's be honest, Newcastle wanted Sesko when we wanted him, and then we ended up taking him off him. So they kind of had to go for him because he was the only other option available. But let's be honest, so far, if you were to compare Voltemade, Gyökeres and Sesko, who has been the best so far in the Premier League, Newcastle have got the best guy. They've got the best guy so far, and I feel like Gyökeres has been he's been struggling a little bit, but that's a whole other conversation. I think they've probably got the best striker out of those three clubs. So he's going to be very, very difficult to compete with, especially because we are going to have a young defence in terms of Aiden Heaven and potentially if Lenny Yoro starts as well. So I think that'll be the best matchup. I'm really interested to see how our defenders deal against him. But like I said, the midfield is going to be really, really crucial. The amount of players that are not available for us in this midfield due to injury, they've got Bruno Guimaraes, they've got Tonali, they've got all these players in there that are top quality players and very, very physical players. So we are going to have to really compete in that midfield if we're going to have a good game against Newcastle. But let me know, what do you guys think? What are your score predictions? I'm going to say it's Boxing Day, man. It's Boxing Day. Day after Christmas, United, let's get the win. Let's get the win, United. It was a difficult loss to watch against Aston Villa. Even though, yes, we did win, and overall we played well, but for us to lose that game, it felt like we could have got more points there. And I felt like if we just finished our chances and we just played a little bit better on the day in terms of going forward and being a bit more clinical, we could have won that game. So to see us lose against Aston Villa was a difficult watch. But I think we're going to win this game. I think Manchester United are going to win this game against Newcastle. And I'm going to give an early prediction. Let's just say, let's be honest, we are going to concede. We've had one clean sheet all season. So I'm going to say 2-1. 2-1 to Manchester United. But let me know your predictions in the comments. Thank you guys for watching and listening. And I'll see you in the next one.